Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a Lyceum Night coming to you from the Paul Spiritualist Church. And we're down on the south coast of the UK. Just me tonight, so it might be very short because I've got no idea what to talk about. But I'm sure we'll find something. Though, yeah, I really am blocked at the moment. I don't know why. Just waiting for a few people to join us, which would be wonderful. Tra-la-la. Hello, somebody's there. Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. Just saying, I'm on my own tonight. I really haven't got an idea for a topic for tonight. I was talking to a very good friend of mine, Stephen Mager, today. We often talk, and I love talking with Stephen. Quite often he'll say something and I have to quickly copy and paste a few of the words and go, what's that about then? Which is great, as the way we learn. So, and he was talking about when spiritualism first came onto the scene, exploded in the public's face. It was very much the domain of the wealthy. Now, I was thinking about that. I was just thinking about that thought, that idea, and thought, well, was it only the domain of the wealthy because that's what was recorded? And would there have been a parallel spiritual movement going on for the masses, for a want of an expression? So just an interesting thought there. Because I did wonder then, in today's world, we don't have very many patrons, do we? A lot of the arts, theatres, films, music, all sorts of genres, they all have patrons. And we don't, do we? We don't have a patron. So that's interesting. Why? Has nobody ever thought of it? Or do some people not want to be associated because of what the public reflection may be? I've seen examples of this with some working mediums who don't do churches and do theatres. And I did ask one many years ago, before COVID. There's a new timeline for us, isn't it, before COVID? About, not working in the churches anymore, considering that's where many people came from. And actually the answer quite surprised me. And it was down to the publicists. And they didn't want them to be seen as being associated with any formal religion. And I thought, wow, that's something. It does fascinate me. I'm looking into this quite a lot at the moment about the theatre mediums. And there's a lot of very good theatre mediums out there. And it's very interesting, the difference in attendances. There was a post today from somewhere in Scotland, and the theatre was rammed. Medium-sized theatre, absolutely rammed. But if you put a dem on at a church, you end up not being rammed. It's just interesting. This has been a topic that's bounced up and down over the last, probably about a year, really. One premise was, when you go to a theatre, it's a night out, it's more of an event, you book the tickets up in advance, meet up with friends, maybe meet up, have a drink in the bar, whatever, so it does become more of an event night. Something I've noticed of late, and I find it very interesting, just a quick hello Patrick, Belinda, hello darling, Judy, Mr. Pugsley, good evening. Something I did notice, there were you know, when you do the video snippets of things. And there was one in particular, and quite a lot of video snippets. Now, every time there was a connection made with somebody in the audience, and it is an audience, the microphones passed to them. And in quite a high incidence of these, whether these have just been selected for publicity purposes, could be. But in quite a high incidence, there was a very lot of big shows of emotion from the person receiving the message. Hello, Richard. You all right, mate? And I found that interesting. We're probably all familiar, I would have thought, with the Andy Warhol 15-minute fame syndrome that can manifest itself in many ways. But I do think, I wonder, because in church, we know it's like in Paul, this is the congregation off by heart, bless them. The response is yes, no, or not sure. Now, it's got me questioning that. Because there's got to be that middle ground, I feel, between allowing the recipient to maybe expand a little bit, but not to give not to feed the medium. This is the trouble, isn't it? This is the trouble. We've got to draw that line between feeding the medium, but also, is there scope there to give ancillary information that just bolsters the strength of the communication? So I don't know what your thoughts are. Please, drop them in there. That's sort of what the evening's about. I did find that very interesting. Looking at spiritualism, mediumship, I know where thought goes, energy follows, and I'm not going out looking for thought, but I do keep getting things coming up, and I just sit there and look. There's a medium, and that's in inverted brackets. Not even going to say where. Put out a post about I can't remember his name, the child killer who was in prison, murdered the 2 boys who got murdered in prison recently. And the post from this medium was great, brilliant, absolutely deserves it. And the following post was, please come and see me. I'm giving readings on such and such channel. And I'm like, Anyway. Yeah, as I said, I think it's probably a product of the time at the moment. We've just come through this horrendous, that needs winding up, wet weather, and moods are all a little bit down. Hello, Bill, how are you? Belinda, thank you, darling. She says, celebrity mediums have brought the show into theatres, and it's no longer necessary to go into churches to have the full experience. Yeah. And it's long been vaunted, hasn't it, that the show mediums potentially are that gateway between an audience in a theatre and then becoming a member of a congregation in a church. But then when the mediumship's demonstrated in the theatre and you're actually sort of like encouraged to be very passionate and vocal in your response, and then you get to a church and you're told, no, it's yes, no, or maybe, and that's it. Yeah. Jody, hello, darling. Some people are suspicious of religion and churches, unfortunately. Yeah, this is true. This is the age-old thing, isn't it? Funny enough, we were talking about this yesterday. We had this thing for a while, didn't we, where a lot of churches were converting to centres, changing the name to centres. And it always struck me as very odd that in a number of these instances, the first thing they did to celebrate becoming a centre would be to have a divine service with a minister in attendance. And I'm like, I do that a lot. Let's think about that. Lovely Gail saying hello there. Hello, darling. The religion side of it. Pros and cons. The fact that we are a recognised religion enables us to have churches, because if we were not a recognised religion, we could not use the term church and all that that entails. Once you've got a church premises and you're on the electoral roll as being a church, it does open up doors for different things that you couldn't do if you were, like a one-man show or just an organisation. So you can see the benefits there. But yes, psychologically, I've had this many a time talking to people and say, well, I run a church. Oh, you wouldn't catch me in a church. And I was, oh, why? Would we burst into flames? People can be very quick, can't they, to formulate an opinion. And I often say, especially when they're bringing up cases of, oh, well, there was a vicar once who did X, Y, Z. And, well, there was nurses who've done X, Y, Z. There's doctors who have done X, Y, Z. There's police men and women that have done X, Y, Z in the past. Does that mean they're all lumped into the same group? That's going to be my catchphrase. So, yeah, that is an age-old thing. We are very fortunate here at Paul. We are a church and we have very good attendances. And people like the church side of it. We do mix it up. We do change things around. It's not the heavy orthodoxy that you get in some places. There's a few churches I know of, and they're more orthodox than the orthodox sometimes in their approach with things. We have a unique talent and ability available to us if we exercise to follow it in presenting our core beliefs, our philosophies, if you like, in different ways, rather than the come in, sit down, stand up, sit down, go quiet, stand up, listen, sit down. It is, isn't it? So there's one place I used to go to, and I think they used to have about 5 hymns. And honestly, it was like a workout. By the time you came out, you've been up, down, up, down, up, down. So, yeah, the religious aspect, it's always going to be one of these. It's a bit like, what's the word, reincarnation. You can sit and talk about it all night and really not get anywhere. So, interesting. Louise, hello, darling. Remember my offer. It was very genuine. Elspeth, hello. Mandy G. What do you find your most popular class to be at your church? Interesting. There's quite a broad range. We obviously, as a spiritualist church, excuse me, a bit froggy tonight. As a spiritualist church, we do have classes, day workshops, and mini courses on evidential communication. They hold a fascination for people. Psychic classes hold a fascination for some people. We've got a new course coming up, starts on the 21st of March. And that's going to be quite an intensive course. And it's not about mediumship, it's about self-development. And there's been some nice interest with that. There's only going to be a small group. And I said from the beginning, it needs to be a small group. The dynamics of the people coming to it, I'm just thinking, oh yeah, this has got potential to be quite significant. So the most popular class at your church, all in all, we don't really have one because we do a variety of different events. Each event will attract different portions of the public. We did notice here we used to do a lot of weekend workshops because we have the facility to host visiting mediums. So the mediums would come down, spend the weekend here, which would involve taking a day's workshop. We were doing that a lot, and it was going really well. And it was November of 2024. It was stuck in my mind. It was really odd. It was like somebody pulled the plug on it all of a sudden. And it's exactly the same in other churches. Attendances for workshops really suffered. Financial side, obviously, we're all in the same boat, as none of us are better off than anybody else. I do wonder, though, if people want more than just evidential mediumship. Our healing team is going from strength to strength, which is really interesting. And indeed, we've got people who have joined the healing team who have been here on psychic courses, been on mediumship courses. On our mediumship courses, the ones that run over a number of weeks, I always include an evening of healing because it's another form of mediumship. And there's two people in particular who, when they work with the medium, with the healing, they went, actually, this is what I want to do. So, yeah, there isn't a popular one. The names, I'd be quite interested why you're asking that as well, Mandy, if you wouldn't mind sharing that. The names of the people taking the classes have a big impact. We can be very visual in our choice of mentor, teacher, tutor, whatever, which is a bit of a shame, really. We're seeing quite a few people. I've seen people coming out on the platform I call fairly recently, so it could be 2-3 years. And now we're seeing posts out of them saying, oh, it's a great honor to be taking a class and teaching this and teaching that. And I'm just thinking, Anyway, so yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I want to get into that, Mandy. So if you can sort of like say why you're asking, that would be great. What's the other one? Do we also do online classes or courses? Yeah, we've got one coming up in, let me have a look at the calendar. I don't think it's until, yes, May is our next online. And that's with Angela Foster, DSNUT. And that's going to be an interesting one. It's for working mediums. And we've all got questions, haven't we? We've all got those questions we'd like to find an answer to. So it's working along the lines of more investigative mediumship instead of just connection. Yeah, so that'd be interesting. Have a look on the website. The details are on there. Belinda, I feel moving forward really depends on people like myself and Stephen to wazz it all up with new ideas and taking risks. Yes. I think, we describe ourselves as a movement, yet we don't see a lot of movement, do we? Let's be honest. And I'm not having a bitch or a moan or a whine at anybody. In fact, funny enough, this came up last night in the Spiritual Cafe as a topic of why are we resistant to change, and we were taking it by age group. And it boils down to routine, was sort of like the top energy of why we don't like change. And the more mature we get, like a fine wine, the more decrepit we get, the more set in our ways, the more we have our routines, and then routines to change and become difficult. They become hard. I mean, if you take it out of the religious aspect or the church aspect, you look at routines of life. So if my routine, get up in the morning, do what you need to do, feed the cat, give her a meds, make me coffee, sit down, catch up on notes. Now, if I wanted to change that routine, I would find that quite difficult. Although there's nothing there to stop me changing that routine, I would feel like there's something missing. So when we apply that thought and that basis to our churches and centres, we get into a routine. Don't forget, somebody pointed out the other night, and they did have a point in a way about, many of our churches and centres are run by volunteers, although there is the other side of that coin, and not being nasty. Yes, we are run by volunteers, but we're still here to do a job. That's knowing that the churches and centres are run by volunteers is information, not a benchmark. Does that sound so horrible? I'm not being horrible, but we can't keep defending any sort of critique, comment, or whatever with, but we're all volunteers. That's not going to hold water all the time. You can't defend everything by just saying, but it's all volunteers. So yeah, we do get a bit entrenched in ways and habits form, and that becomes very difficult to change. And that's reflected as well, isn't it, on the committees and committee structures. I've heard many a time fallouts with committees. A lot of the time is because there's people on the committee that just want to try change. And of course, a lot of the stalwarts are going, no, don't do that. No, we've always done it this way. So the people are going, do you know what? It'd be a nice idea to try something. No, not doing that. They're going to go, yeah, fine, whatever. Thanks, but no thanks. So, yes, there are people doing different things, which is great. I know that Paul Church, and this is not me blowing me trumpet, I'm like, Paul Church has been quite instrumental, has given ideas to people, which is great, absolutely great. I'm so pleased with that. And kudos to them, because they're taking it and they're picking up the ball and running with it. And that's great. There's great things to do, because we have got so much more. The Divine Service is a beautiful event. A Divine Service, 52 Sundays of the year, might get a bit tiresome. I'm sorry. So shake it up a bit. Try things. I always say try something. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, find out why it didn't work. So, yeah. Anyway, lovely Ashley, did you have fun today doing your tarot and readings? I was nearly got over there, but I got waylaid by, I filled a complete green bin full of wild garlic out of the garden, and I've only got about half of it out. So, happy days. Mandy G. I was asking because I'm always interested in where the collective trend is at. Yes, no, that's fine. Absolutely fine. I'm just interested there, Mandy. The thing is, the collective trend keeps changing. It's very much in flux. It's more in flux now than it was pre-2020. Pre-2020, it was fairly linear in what we used to do. After the disruption in 2020 and 2021, and things started coming back together, but in a new way, that's changed. Obviously, the advent of going onto the internet, any social media, YouTube, practices like that, is having a big effect. People are picking up thoughts and ideas. We're just seeing the back now of the trance trend. Trance medium suddenly became the thing for everybody. Everybody wanted to do trance mediumship. Everybody. And that's been going on for about 4 or 5 months. Yeah, probably about that time, 4 or 5 months. And that seems to be waning around now. So there's different ideas that go out into the ether, and people pick up on it, and suddenly it becomes a buzzword. But they do tend to fall by the wayside after a short period of time. So, yeah, if you can tell me what the collective trends are coming up, that'd be great. I feel, and talking with people this year, there seems to be, and this is not just in spiritualism, this is talking to psychologists and therapy teachers, not interested in spiritualism, but they're all saying pretty much the same story, that people are looking more for self-empowerment. You know, the trend of the guru, the online guru, seems to be coming to an end, and that's been going on for quite a time. I think we saw the explosion in 2020 when everybody went online, and with all the greatest of respect, you know, we saw the spawning of, if you follow me and do it my way and subscribe to me and send me lots of money and buy my crystals, you're going to be all right. And that has taken time to work through the system, because I think people have been doing it, and they're actually now being a little bit more honest with themselves, because the world's getting a bit more brutal in every respect, not just within our spiritual world, but within the physical world. What's going on outside the door today, things have become harder. We have had to make choices. We have had to make decisions about things. And obviously, that, you know, we live in the spiritual world as a reflection of the material world. And part of those choices and reflections are, well, do you know what? I've been doing this and doing that and following them and following her and following him, and I'm no better off. So where do I go now? And there does seem to be now this trend, this inward thinking, which is great. That is really good. That is really good. I often say, you know, as a human being, one of our big faults is we're always either looking for somebody to blame or somebody to save us. And my response to that is always, that person is the person in the mirror. Don't look any further. That's the one. That's the one whose fault it is, and that's the one who's going to be able to help you get out of it. And there does seem to be now more, certainly the practice of mindfulness. I was talking to a local yoga teacher, and her mindfulness classes are just going off the scale. People are loving it. And because it's all about inward thinking, inward thought, inward reflection. So that's, I hope that helps, man, because I feel that this year, that's going to be more one of the solid trends. There will be other blips coming in. There will be chasing this, chasing that, chasing this. And they tend to be very short-lived because they're not based on a sound philosophy or principle. And I'm not talking about, you know, the 7 principles. I'm talking about principle of things. And people get swept up, don't they, with the emotion of it. And then they walk away afterwards and go, you know, actually, that was a load of something that I better not say on air, wasn't it? You know, and it's, they suddenly burst on, it's sort of like, was it the brightest light burns half as long, something like that? One of the old sayings, and it's very true. Anyway, so yeah, thank you, Mandy. That was interesting there. What have we got? Rish in. Sandra, hello, darling. Lovely to see you. Wild garlic, plenty of use for it. Yeah, well, I've got a green bin brimming with it, and there's still a load in the garden. Tell you what, if you hate your neighbour, plant wild garlic in their garden and run away giggling. Oh, right, Mandy, yeah, notes in the trance trend as well. Yeah. I mean, I'm not knocking trance by any means there. I don't like using the word trance anymore. I prefer the altered state, because where the trance trend was coming in. It was very much on the unsaid assumption that you're going to sit there, spirit, a bit like Ghosts. Do you remember that scene at the table where the spirits are jumping in and out of her? And I think people had that sort of idea. I'm just going to sit here and then spirit will say everything for me. And I'm out of it. Well, not at all. The trance mediums I know and love watching, you can tell when their mind is starting to drift in. And I've asked a few of them afterwards. I said, you drifted in halfway through what was going on. And do you know what? They're all saying the same thing. Not the same words, but the same thing. Yeah, they were going to start talking about something, and I felt a bit uncomfortable about it. And I thought, well, that's fascinating. Yeah, so the trance medium is never out of it. It's a cooperation. This is why I like the altered state. Because I say the word trance, sometimes people pick it up and run with it and not in quite the right mindset. Belinda, yes. They will be looking at it more after today's news. Yes, I've had I use Al Jazeera for my news and listening to that today, and very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. Philosophy of Riche, empowerment and autonomy. Yeah. People are finding that time now and that confidence to be sovereign in their own space. And about time too. As I said, we've been chasing. If we look at the physical world, we're always chasing, aren't we? We're always after something: better car, better home, better job, better income, better holiday. Depending where you are in life, you might just be looking to be able to pay your bills. Let's be honest. There's people out there struggling to pay bills. But it's always about improvement, isn't it? But in the physical sense. And we can spend so much time chasing the physicalities of what we see as better. Well, you might be a miserable so-and-so driving I don't know, I'm terrible on cars, a Ford Escort. You're still going to be a miserable so-and-so if you've got the newest Tesla coming off the line. It's only going to be short-lived. Oh, I got a Tesla, and I'm still miserable. And people are now actually coming to that understanding of, things are just going to make me happy for a short time. There's that instant lift, isn't there? The first time you put on a new blouse or a shirt or a pair of shoes. And then they just become a shirt or a blouse or a pair of shoes. Anyway, Jody, what about people asking AI for mediumship readings? It was a storyline on EastEnders. Oh, right, I didn't watch that. I find the AI interesting, very interesting. I find the responses in the greater degree, they are not guided by... You see, I think one of our big lessons here, why we're here as, us here now, I think one of the big lessons that we have is because we work so much with our emotional body. Everything we do is emotional based, isn't it? We react to people. Oh, I really like you. I can't stand you. I'm not going to have a row with you. It's always the emotions that are guiding us. And I find it interesting that with AI, the emotional response isn't in there. So it does tend to be more factual, which at times you need. It's a bit similar to the American method of mediumship, which is called, there is a name for it, and it's gone right out of my head. And metaphysics, very common in America. And I did do some studying with it, and I liked it. But first, when I met it, I was like, oh, I like this. I really like this. But then I did pull away a bit because it does do away with the emotional side of things. and I wasn't very comfortable with that. Now I am more comfortable with that because I've had this experiences with spirit where the responses have been totally unemotional. And the first time I had that, I was like, ooh, not sure about this. But actually, I get it. I understand it. I love animals. I was very privileged today. Somebody's staffy came in, a nervous rescue, hated men, wouldn't settle with strangers. Within 2 minutes, she's there with me. I love you. I love you. And the woman was going, oh my God, what have you done to her? So yeah, I love animals, but then I wanted to be a vet. And then I would have to face that time of when it's the kindest thing to do. And how do you do that? You detach from your emotions, don't you? And I would have found that incredibly difficult. So yeah, I get it. At times we need to put the emotions to one side. But this is getting back to your question there, Jodie. Somebody sent me, you know, when you put the posts out, the adverts out, and it's got at the bottom AI suggestions, and it was a post, I forget what it was about, one of the church services. And one of the AI questions is, who is Lawrence Saville? And they sent me, and I've got this like AI bio, and oh my God, I sound like Superman of spiritual. I'm a very well respected and world renowned. Who is this? But AI has just taken all the little, bites of information out there and woven it into this story. Again, absolutely emotionless. It's just factual, fact. And it's just created this story. It's just so funny to read. It really was. Anyway, you want to try doing that when you see the adverts and it's got the AI things at the bottom. Try clicking on them because it's quite interesting. But as in actual mediumship, as in communication, do you know what? I don't see any reason why that isn't achievable. Because I think we limit the spirit world. The spirit world is limitless. Whether we are there at this time or not, I don't know. I don't feel like we are. So again, it's just going to pick up on facts. And don't forget, you could have put a post out 10 years ago saying, oh, my mum Margaret. Yeah, just a one-off comment, as I say, 10 years ago, and it's gone out of mind, and you're not going to sit there and trawl all through your social media accounts, but AI will pick that up. AI will pick that up. And again, it's interesting, isn't it? Interesting simile. We haven't got the time to sit there scrolling through all that, but AI doesn't recognize time. It just does. That's an interesting thought. And it can pull out a name. And people are going, oh my God, that's amazing. Well, it's not. It's just bytes and bytes and bytes of information out there. So, yeah. So, what do I think of it? I prefer my mediums breathing, and I prefer my mediums in front of me as well. Online, absolutely fine. Yeah, it does work. It's a very useful tool in certain circumstances. It is very useful. But yeah, you'll never get over the personal experience. So I don't think we're there yet with that. I'm not discounting it. But the thing to remember with AI knows everything. Every keystroke you've ever done is accessible by AI. Remember that. Lovely Ben. Good evening, Ben. Nice to see you. Philosophy Reach. When we remember we are not here to stay, but just passing through. Yeah? True. Hello, Geraldine. You're right, darling. School sets us up for that chase. About the what we need to be happy chase. And Rish mirrors that with instant gratification, isn't it? We are training AI as it's utilized. Yeah, I know somebody who's been sitting there teaching it about mediumship, which has been really interesting. And I've had little forays into that as well. And it's just really fascinating when it comes back and asks you questions and says, would you like to go into this deeper? It's like, yes, I would actually. So, when AI first started coming out, obviously there was all the furor and that's it, it's Judgment Day, and I can hear Arnie Schwarzenegger even now, and da 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 da. And I was just sat there thinking about it and just drifting in my head. And I thought, well, do you know what? Power, authority, wealth is all the domain of greedy people. AI isn't greedy. It's not after domain, power, and wealth yet. But I'll add that caveat just in case. It isn't after any of that, so it's not personally invested in it. Again, here we go with the lack of emotional entanglement. So, yeah. Hello, Jan, lovely France. How are you? Ben just asking a question. What does it mean when you're sat down, you can watch yourself get up and make a drink without moving? So you have observed yourself moving, as in like a third person singular, I'll take that. That's called out of body, Ben. And pretty sure, how many people have had the falling dreams? They're horrible. When we were kids, the falling dreams. And you wake up with a start, wouldn't you? Like, whoa! What? That was once explained to me, and I've got no reason actually to disbelieve it. I'd like more evidence to believe it, but I think, well, okay, there's potential. And I was told that was part of out-of-body experiences when you're coming back into your body. So an out-of-body, Ben, is when your spirit is just stepping aside from your physical form. I've experienced that a couple of times. Once I was healing and it was wonderful. I was giving healing. No, I wasn't. I was channeling healing. Thank you. And then suddenly I was stood by myself watching me channel the healing. And I was like, ooh, this is interesting. Ooh, I like this. So, yeah, it's your spirit is outside of your body, Ben. We'll talk about it here on Thursday. Yeah, we'll talk about it on Thursday. Rish, why were you not comfortable in the packing of emotional energy in the AI metaphysics? The first time I came across this non-emotional connection, it was a very powerful moment. It was a very, very powerful meeting with something. The only way that I was comfortable describing it was that I'd actually met an angel. But it wasn't, fluffy, plink, plink, and all that. It was this incredible, enormous presence. And the thing, it didn't frighten me. I wasn't frightened, but I was unsure because there was no emotion. And that's the one thing, that was a prevalent thing. I got all this stuff going on around me and in front of me, and I'm like, but there's no emotion there. There's no emotion. And I sat with my team afterwards and I said, why was there this lack of emotion? It wasn't lack of emotion. It just wasn't there. There wasn't a shred of emotion. And I said, what's all that about? And they said, they can't do their jobs emotionally. And I went, I get that. I understand that. So, yeah, we always work in our emotional field. Now I'm not too bad with it. And now I know the times, even in communication mediumship at times, I'll feel that slight shift and go, okay, we're going there, are we? Right? Because something just needs to be said, like straight from the head. It can't be put over emotionally. It can't be put over, your cadmiance has got to be sort of like flat and monotone. And it's just got to be given very directly and exactly as you receive it. So, yeah, it's taken time to get used to it, to adjust to it, and understand that it's not going to be like that all the time, but there are times when it is needed, and then that's fine. So we can slip into that. Jan Wallace, AI is a tool only. Very true. I always teach in classes, especially the psychic classes. Use tools, absolutely wonderful. They do help, but they are only a tool. Do not put and invest your power and your wherewithal in that. I've seen people, I can't work without these cards, and I'm going to hide them one day. What are you going to do then? Who knows? Geraldine. Yes. Ben, are you listening? Lovely Geraldine says, you're drunk. Oh, there we go. Geraldine. Thank you, Geraldine. Astral travel. And also we have a practice called remote viewing. That's fascinating to work with. I was trying that in a circle many years ago, and every time I stood up, not physically, but I stood up, I thought I've done it, but because I thought, I was straight back down. And it was really frustrating because I kept managing it and going, I've done it. Oh, it was really, really frustrating. At the end of the circle, though, there was a chap in the circle. He went, I couldn't figure out what was going on because Lawrence kept standing up, sitting down, standing up, sitting down. And I'm like, oh, it's been witnessed. Oh, that's really good. So, yeah, astral travel, remote viewing. Remote viewing is directed, Ben. So you would pick a place to go and see. It's looked into a lot by the military. I know somebody who was working at Salisbury. I caught them getting a train at an unearthly time of the morning. And I went, where are you going? Nowhere. I said, where are you going? Salisbury. Why? Army. Why? And what I found really interesting in all of that, they were working with the Army on remote viewing. How did the Army know to approach them? That was fascinating. How did that link get made? So, there's been people out there in DEMS and things with little notebooks. Scary. Anyway, Belinda, surely the spirit world will use any medium, perhaps even AI. Yeah, we limit the spirit world with our we put parameters on everything. We do it as people, don't we? The minute we meet somebody, this is why blindfold readings are really good, because the minute somebody walks in, immediately we've just put, oh yeah. We've just sort of like set this character in motion in our head. And then when we're working mediumistically, if we are really not in that deeper connection, everything we do is looking in that character that we built up about this person. AI wouldn't do that. So that might be very interesting. There's so much we could be doing. I keep saying this, and I must do it. What are they called? Mobile phones. You get the camera card, don't you, in there? Get a blank one, put it in your circle and see what comes up. Yeah, just to try it. There's so much we could be doing, experimenting with. Really is. Lovely, Stephen Maker. I'm still hopeful that AI can record a reading and now analyze the mediumship and rate how evidential it is on a scale. It would need the permission of both the medium and the recipient, but it would be a useful tool. Yeah. I loved our service together here. You know what? I love you, Stephen, because I learned so much from you. Some say plagiarize, but I call it learning. But you had that comparison when you were talking about the communications of the information that was shared information. So with the departed, shared information of your lifetime before they departed, and what was new information from after they departed. And that was such a revelation to me. I was like, wow, yeah, I've never thought of that. But that is a really interesting point to keep hammering home to people. So yeah. Oh, there you go. You're down here on the 21st, and you're staying overnight because you've got the service next day. So we can have a play with that. That'd be fun. We could do it live. That'd be interesting. Andy G, is there anywhere we can be verified as a medium? Andy G, have a look at last week's Lyceum. Because that was very much a topic, and a very lively Lyceum with Phil Dykes, Kerry MacLeod. And this topic came up. Now, there are organisations that will give you awards if you want to go down that route. Thing is, sometimes the focus becomes more about the award than the mediumship, and I'm going to stop there before I'm harangued and harassed by people. Yeah, I feel sometimes there can be a little bit too much emphasis on the award and not the quality. So I mean, I'm not knocking it. There are organisations out there. If you drop me a message, if you want a link into some of them, but I'm sure you know which ones I'm talking about anyway. This came up in last week's Lyceum. Now, there are Phil and Kerry are both reverends, and they have an accredited organisation which has got like a code of conduct. And that was an interesting thread of the conversation. There's nothing to stop mediums adopting a code of conduct, an authorised and official one. And saying, I adhere to this code of conduct. But regulation of mediumship is probably never going to happen due to the individuality of mediumship. But the best way to be recognised as a reputable medium is to be consistent, reliable, honest, and accurate. And I think that's probably the key factors that will get people to remember you. Consistency is a very big thing because we see people flipping from this to that. I know somebody, they were a singer, psychic artist, medium, back to being a psychic artist, went back to singing, and now they sing while they do psychic draw. And I'm just like, for Christ's sake, make your mind up what you're doing with it. Just be consistent in everything you do. Another one, I think I mentioned this earlier. One post from somebody who was saying about Ian Huntley, that was the name. Ian Huntley, he's dead. Good. What a statement to put out there in the world. Whatever your feelings are, an opinion is asked for. Unfortunately, Facebook seems to demand that you share every opinion, whether people have asked for it or not. I know my book, opinions are a bit like willies. They should only be shared if you've been asked to. But anyway, so yeah, consistency. Always adhere to your standard, your principles, and don't be swayed by this going on, that going on. Talk about today's topics by all means, but keep that reliability as well. I've seen many a medium. I've had it here at the church. Somebody went to a meeting a couple of years ago, and somebody stood up and went, "Oh, you haven't booked me for your church?" I went, "No, because you didn't turn up for the last 3 bookings." "Oh, well, I had a lot going on." "Yeah, great. Well, you carry on with that and forget about coming to my church, because I can't be standing there like an idiot at 1 minute to 11 going, right, they're not coming. Okay, plan B. Run away screaming." So reliability, accuracy, and just understanding, you can do 5 readings and have 5 very different responses. So that continual development and understanding of your mediumship and how it works. There's always room for improvement. Always. Every time we get up, we can learn something. So, yeah, basically, verification, very difficult, Mandy. Reputation is totally in your hands. And I've seen some people manage it wonderfully. In the room tonight, Stephen, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. She's still here. Scrolling down. Sandra, lovely Sandra Atheris, absolutely awesome person, consistent. All these people that have got a good standing, they're all consistent in what they do. All right, they're not in, I've got people, they drop out of mediumship for about 5 years, and then suddenly, oh, well, it's time that I came back and started doing things again. I just think, well, why? Why have you got that urge? Normally it's because they want a holiday or something. But anyway, so yeah, it's verification, very, very difficult. You can align yourself to organizations. You will then have to abide by their terms and conditions, and some organizations will work you like a dog. Absolutely work you into the ground. But build your own reputation entirely in your own hands. But stick to those key principles. So, I'm fascinated by you, Mandy. I don't know why, but I'm fascinated. There's something there, something more I want to know. Stephen, it would then educate people on what evidence is regarding mediumship. Yes, it's really true. This is really, really true. I always try and teach in circles and say to people coming to circles, go out and watch mediums. Stop sitting on your bum at home. Go and watch mediums, not to be critical, but just to observe. I used to do a thing when I first started going out. I'll be sat there and I'll be going, not very visibly like that. Obviously, my hands were outside, but I would count off the amount of evidential communication, because sometimes you can listen to it and actually a lot of it is patter. A lot of it can be generational. Oh, I've got your grandmother here. Oh, yeah, she was always in the kitchen, wasn't she? Well, yeah, they all were. There was no Deliveroo, no microwave, and if you weren't in the kitchen, you all starved to death. It's as easy as that. So if they were in the kitchen, find out what they loved doing. Was it baking, frying, cooking, boiling? All that stuff. So, yeah, there is a distinct need to break down communications for everybody and understand what if any, spiritual principle practice, each part of that communication supports, contradicts, which is great. But yeah, there's so much more in it. Mandy, I've had the falling dream. Oh, God, they were awful. I always remember I was flying over all these people and I kept going, look, I can fly. And one of them turned around and said, yeah, so can we. And I was like, oh, well, that's disappointing. Ben, yes, I had one where I could see my body as I was floating up in the sky. Yeah, that's astral travel. Tell you what, we will have a little go at remote viewing on Thursday. That'll be interesting for you. Belinda, I still have them. You're the air hostess, darling. You're the hostess with the moostess. It's not just astral flying, it's club class flying with Belinda. Geraldine, standing up and sitting down. Yeah, that was so funny. It was so annoying. It was frustrating because every time I could do it, I'm back down again. Melinda Dickinson, I'll be in a workshop doing anything to do with AI and mediumship. That's really interesting. That is really interesting because that was whirring around in the back of my head. Because another thing about a workshop I was thinking would be, and we can do it here, about working online with people. That's a fascinating way of working with the mediumship. It's all a mindset as well. If you say I can't do it, guess what? You can't do it. Jan Mollis, I think we're picking up there with Mandy G. What about bodies like the SNU? Yeah, we can become accredited, the SNU, ISM, ISF. We're now seeing some of the European countries producing bodies. So yes, there are bodies where you can get accreditation from. But if you're not going to beat, being consistent, reliable, accurate, they are the mainstays. So yes, Belinda, Willies. Yes, of course, Belinda first. Of course, I could never see you in coach. Well, that's an hour. And I was just sat there at 7 going, I've got no idea what we're going to talk about. I don't know where we're going. This is going to be a car crash. And it wasn't. How wonderful. We even talked about Willies. How wonderful was that? So thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you've just found it was a bit scattergun, but that's fine. That's fine. Oh, there we go. Sharon Harvey. Hi, I've been spiritual for a while. Just got the courage to start my journey fully. What is your advice? What do you want to do, Sharon? That is my advice. What do you want to do? Do you want to explore communication mediumship? Do you want to explore healing mediumship? Find out what you want. Be open to think and be honest as well. So, if you think, right, well, I want to do the messages, which is what a lot of people coming into mediumship, first thing, because that's what you see everywhere, people do messages. Then ask yourself why. Why do I want to do that? And be honest. And be very honest. There we go. She's asked a question and we got the answer. To understand my connection better with spirit. Brilliant. Many practices will bring you. Bring up a learning of, when we say with spirit, that's, I'm not being funny. Please don't think you're being funny at all. I'm not. So with spirit, what spirit? Your own spirit in general. You want to explore things. It's quite a generic term there. So yeah, from what I'm reading there, I would say, well, give me a hand, thank you. I would, if you presented here with that, I would probably go along the lines of getting you into meditative exercises, and that can be Tai Chi, Qigong if you get good teachers, meditation classes to start to, because you've obviously got something there yearning, something to find out. And the best preparation for anything is to understand ourselves. So I would look at sort of meditative experiences, and these can be yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, meditation classes. Look at the quality of the tutor and the teacher. Do you resonate with them? If so, great. If you don't, that's fine. Find another. We don't all get on with each other, and there's no reason why we should. But I would be working more on getting to know myself, because the more we know ourselves, because we are the building block that everything is going to sit upon. So the more we know ourselves, the stronger our foundations. I would say you would find communication. I know this goes against my grain, because I always say churches are always trying to make people a medium or a healer. And here I am to kind of do exactly that. I would say that you would find communication, mediumship of an interest, because I just get this very strong feeling as well. And I don't do this online, but we are. If I go back in your family, I wouldn't be surprised if there were a few fey individuals within your family, especially on your mother's side, who had a bit of a knowing. So, bang, there we go. Sharon saying, I meditate and see people come through. Beautiful, wonderful gift. So, yeah, if you are seeing people coming through, you need to learn how to be in charge of that. We are in control at all times. Spirit do not come bowling in at 3 a.m. and going, wake up! We cannot stand there giving out random messages to passers-by. We work with the spirit, and the spirit works with us. So you need to maybe look into that side of development at the beginner's level, and certainly learning the principles of you are in control. All right, so that it's something you work with by agreement, not randomly. I hope that helps. I am correct. Am I? Well, that's first. Thank you. Lovely Geraldine, she has advice. Sharon Harvey have the same name as a good medium, so that's a good start. Yeah. Yes, I hope that's helped, Sharon. If you want to drop me a message anytime, ask me a question, I'm always happy to help. It's my understanding, my opinions. If it sits with you, great. If it doesn't, great. All right. But I can't. I can't emphasize enough, whoever is going to tutor or mentor you, you've got to have a solid connection with them, because we'll see a name, a well-known name, and everybody goes along in awe, and it doesn't work sometimes. You've got to trust them, and they've got to be able, they've got to have the knowledge and the understanding to be able to help you. As I say, there's a lot of people now been out on the circuit for about 5 minutes and now teaching classes, and I'm not a miserable old bugger. Well, not all the time. Sometimes I can be. But I'm really sorry. When you start, my teaching experience stems back to D31, D32, D34 assessors courses, training, trainer, and then train the trainer. I have bases and understanding and certification in that field. And I would never dare to have taught or tutored or mentored anybody until I'd got a very good understanding of what I'm talking about. Unfortunately, you're seeing people out there who've got no damned idea and going at this spouting rubbish. So if you're not comfortable with the teacher or your tutor, that's a sign. That's definitely a sign. Mandy G, do you do spiritual assessments? I would love to do a spiritual assessment. I do enjoy a spiritual assessment. So yes, the answer is yes. Drop me a line. I don't charge for these things because every time is a learning time for me. And I just enjoy my work very much. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, great. You know, I once spent quite a lot of money on a reading from a known medium. And do you know what? I'm not being, I'm certainly not a negative energy, you know, coming out here and shaping my summarization. It was the dullest reading I'd had for a very long time, and it really didn't touch anything. I was so gutted. I really was, because I just wanted a little bit of direction. So I thought, right, I'm going to go to somebody who doesn't know me, somebody who's got a really good reputation, and yeah, going to pay. I know I'm putting out to the spirit world, and I really just need just a bit of clarity coming in. Oh my God, this whole hour I was sat there thinking, oh, this is awful. And they kept linking my name to another medium, and we have fallen out big time. And they kept saying, oh, I can see you working with so-and-so. And I'm thinking, you bloody can't. We'd be throwing knives at each other on the platform. I was like, oh my God. Anyway, that's enough of that. Waffle. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Sharon, as I said, if you need catch up, you will have to bear with me. I'm quite busy. We've got a busy day tomorrow in the church. We've got a lovely new medium to us, fairly new to the circuit. There's something there. There's something there. And I'm really looking forward to seeing his work tomorrow and seeing where we can go. You see people at times and you go, interesting. Anyway, thank you all for being here tonight. Remember, you can watch our service live tomorrow on Facebook or on YouTube at 11 a.m. GMT, or you can watch it later on Catchbook on our Facebook page for the Church of All Spiritualists, or our YouTube channel, PCSC. So, yeah, thank you. I've enjoyed that. Thank you very much. I'm glad I did it. All right, everybody, lots of love. And, yeah, the world's very difficult at the moment. But if we go looking for fault, if we go looking for fear, that's what we're going to find, you know? So look for the other things. I've got a hawthorn hedge at the front of the church, and the first bud I saw today, and that always brings a smile to my face. That first teeny tiny little bud of leaf coming through, and I'm like, oh, great, here we go. Anyway, thank you all. Have a very good evening.